Hello, welcome back, fellow Malaysians, Singaporeans, and friends from around the world to another edition of Weekly Musings with Jae in Singapore, where we delve into the serious, the silly, and everything in between about my life in this little red dot I call home in the last 1 year. Sorry, folks, this month has been really crazy busy. I had my first orchestra performance in Singapore with Tanglin Symphony Orchestra, and if you're one of the few friends who actually came to support, thank you so much for coming, and I hope you actually enjoy the performance. You know who you are, and thanks. If you have been listening to my podcast consistently for a while now, I highly recommend you subscribe to my podcast channel. The more support I get, the more motivated I am to make the podcast better over time. And without further delay, I'd like to talk about my first orchestra performance with the Tanglin Symphony Orchestra. So a little bit backstory is basically I got connected with a fellow orchestra member from the KL PAC Symphony Orchestra. KL PAC stands for Kuala Lumpur Performing Arts Centre. 3 months ago, I think 2 to 3 months ago, after a concert in Esplanade performed by the Singapore Symphony Orchestra, and she spotted us. She could recognize that we are from. She could easily recognize us, and we caught up. And I think at the very end, she asked, like, "Oh, do you actually still play the violin? Like, do you want to play with an orchestra?" And said, "Yeah, sure. Like, if it's on a night that we're free, why not? Let's just join." So a few days after that, she actually connected someone named Wei Heng to us, me and my good friend Doug. From then, the rest is history. So I think we joined in the rehearsals about like maybe after prior to like 2 or 3 rehearsals. They actually started rehearsing late March, and I think for the amount of preparation, I think we prepared maybe about 10 weeks prior up to the performance last Saturday. I think it was a very noteworthy performance. Like, there's so many things that could go wrong, but actually didn't go wrong during the performance, and so I'm really happy with what we produced on the last Saturday. And I can tell you guys, like, I'm not a very emotionally in tune person, so playing music is a way for me to actually express my emotions in a very deep level, because like how much more I'm not like someone who can just show like a happy face or even like a frowning face, or like some kind of like frustrated looking way to express my emotions. But it's tough, and I find that music is a very therapeutic way for me to express emotions. So a little bit backstory, I actually started playing the violin when I was 15 years old, and I encountered the instrument or the sound of the instrument itself when I was 9 years old. I was at a cruise ship and with my family, and we passed by a very interesting music shop. That music shop has a music player that could play rewind back, and I remember they were playing Einklein Nut music. I remember like how can string instruments produce such a beautiful sound, and it stuck that melodic line really stuck in my head, and that's why I years later when I passed by a violin shop in my hometown Petaling Jaya, I eventually heard the violin again, and I told my mom like, I want to learn the violin. My mom told me, it's like, oh no, you've stopped learning the piano and you're not very serious about guitar. Nope, I'm not gonna let you learn the violin. But eventually I managed to convince my mom to buy the violin, and the rest is history. So sorry, I'm a bit sick right now, but it was very interesting like about this orchestra that I joined. It's a serious yet fun yet friendly orchestra. Does that even make sense? Like, we could hear like people who are coming in just to play all the notes correctly and to also try to play together. And then we have a huge group that actually, like, especially for the violin 2 section. So in orchestra there are like 2 violins, violin 1 and violin 2. The violin 2s, they are very friendly, and they are kind of like a very strong community. I see them like going out and hanging out with each other very often. So I felt like they are also very passionate about music also, because when I went up, when they invited us for supper one night, I remember like they they were just talking about music and all the different violin concertos and the repertoire of violin, and we just like had so much fun like chit chatting about it, and they could even do it over a meal, and yeah, just had so much fun just talking about music and especially the violin with them. And even if they like, I could clearly hear like some mistakes during the concert last Saturday. It didn't felt like everyone was like, oh, try to say something bad about each other, but everyone was like, wow, we really made it. We really played together at this part, because like symphonies written by Peter Tchaikovsky. So there's one part in the symphony which is like in the third movement, where it's a waltz and the melody is like being passed around, like from violins to cellos to violas, and then to the and I remember during the rehearsals, like we actually were very messy. Like we were never passing the melody correctly. Like it's either one of us, one of the sections were faster or slower. It was never sounded right. But surprisingly, during the concert, we were sort of quite together actually. So that was to my surprise. That was a wonderful performance, like to really play together. Although like the dynamics, like in terms of loudness and softness, could be better, but yeah. I think one of the challenging things about preparing for this orchestra performance was the level of, or the time that I could commit for this, because like we only had like 10 weeks, and we only rehearsed every Thursday night, and I only have the weekend to practice. So, and some nights, yeah, some weekday nights. So I remember the preparation time was very limited, and it was tough because like there were changes in the bowing. So sometimes they change from up bow to down bow, and then down bow to up bow. So for those who don't know about what this means, like a down bow means like it's a pull on the string using the bow onto the violin, and then an up bow is like you actually push the string on the upward motion with the bow itself. So when you change the direction, right, it really just messes with your muscle memory. So I think it's a very typical challenge, but so that itself is quite a bit of challenge during the rehearsals and also prior to the concert. And I must say, like, we perform fairly quite well compared to other community orchestras in Singapore. If you've heard the Braddell Heights Symphony Orchestra or the Orchestra Music Makers, they are a very fantastic amateur, always amateur, like a community orchestra. They are professionals there, and there are some players from those orchestra even like perform in our orchestra last Saturday, and I must say that we did really well. And to end this podcast, I guess we can end with this quote: like, no one can play a symphony by themselves. It takes an orchestra to play it. And no one can whistle a symphony. There's 80 over number of players playing multiple parts at the same time. It's really impossible to actually make all the sounds at once with your own mouth. And what it really tells is it takes so much effort, dedication, time, and passion, and patience also to actually put together a very good performance. And I'm really excited to see how Tanglin Symphony Orchestra develops in the next couple of years. And sorry, this is not really a promotion for my orchestra, but rather like a reflection of how this experience will lead on to the next. And I think I made a very serious mistake during the performance. I dropped my bow in, I think, the second last page of the Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 5, and picked it up immediately and then started playing all the semi-quaver notes. And I think one person, like a friend of mine, actually heard that I dropped the bow, but she didn't say like, oh, like that sucked and everything, but I think she really empathized with the mistake that I made. So I think moving forward, I could actually work more on my performance anxiety, because I realized that I had some shaky bows in those slow movements. Like I actually like supposed to play soft and slow, but I had shaky bows. So I guess it's something for me to think about in terms of performance anxiety during the concert itself. So I guess overall, this good concert, and I hope to see all these players again in the next concert, which is like in 2nd December. So hope to see you all there. And thanks for tuning in into this week's episode. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.